Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 110. Written by Thanos Communist Wife. She knew this kid from class. No one remembers from where. I got a new teaching job after being unemployed since last November, as my previous school went out of business. I've only worked at 4 schools in my entire adult life. I walk in on my first day and I spot a student from the previous school that I already knew. I ran up to her and gave her a big hug. Then another student yells, "Miss Thanos Communist Wife!" I yell back, "Oh my God, Bob!" Bob, obviously not his real name. We're all hugging. It's wonderful. A regular hallmark moment. Fast forward. My boss goes, "You know Bob? How do you know Bob?" I said I taught him at my last school. My boss goes, "Really? Because I told Bob's parents how excited he was to see you, and they said he's never been to that school." So I'm thinking and thinking. I get home and start looking back at school photos. Photos I took on my iPhone, class photos, and this boy isn't in any of them. I text some former coworkers that I keep in touch with from all the schools. Not only do they not know Bob, they've never had anyone named Bob as a student. It's been a week since that incident, and me and his parents and my boss are still trying to figure this out. His parents even asked him where he knows me from, and he says, "I don't know, I just do." He's 4, so that's an appropriate response. My conspiracy theory is, maybe we met in a past life. Or maybe alternate versions of ourselves have met and it's trickling down into our version. Case notes, file number 110. So yes, a crossover event can produce effects like this. Differences between realities, often very subtle. But the fact that Bob does remember you as well, that points to this not being a crossover. Instead, it's like both of your senses are aligned and attuned to perceive the fact that you know each other but in other universes, without crossing over. Like you said, a sort of trickle-down effect of knowledge, almost a sort of sixth sense. Fascinating. Case file number 111. Written by Jackfruit Rude. At some point in their lengthy timeline together, they diverged. At some point, I separated from the version that my friend and wife are in. Last night, I was over at my friend's house, we'll call her Amber, and we were chatting about family and growing up differently. She mentioned how she'd been cooking for her family since she was 8 years old, and when she was 14, she worked for a catering company and loved it. She said that she thought she was going to go to culinary school. I said, "But you did go to culinary school." And she said she hadn't. But I have several distinct memories of us talking about her going to culinary school. I reminded her of the time my wife and I had dinner at her place. Amber said she would cook and would make a stir-fry. All of this she remembers too. When we got to her place, I was so impressed because she had a kitchen cabinet full of cookware and spices. We were young and no one I knew had a kitchen so well stocked. When I made a comment on it, she said, "Well, yeah, I went to culinary school after all." And we've had multiple conversations like this since. It's one of the first things I knew about her, so we've talked about it throughout our entire 3-year friendship. But when I recounted this story to her last night, she said that the last part wasn't true and that she never went to culinary school. She had never even taken a class or anything. We just stared at each other, shocked and a little speechless, and then I told her we must be from different versions of reality. She said she'd always wanted to go to culinary school, but never did, and I told her that somewhere another Amber that I knew went to culinary school. I think that's pretty poetic and beautiful in a way. When I got home, I asked my wife if she remembers Amber going to culinary school, and she said no right away. I recounted the whole conversation for her, and she still said no. But she and I had had a lot of similar experiences with each other, so I'm not really surprised. I'm going to start writing things down when I learn about a new person so that I can refer back to it. Has anyone else had a similar experience? Case notes, file number 111. This makes me think of the Mandela effect, only applied to a personal memory of a friend's life. There isn't too much that can mess with our brains more than feeling out of sync with reality, at least personally. When we know that X should actually be Y, and in your case that your friend took a life path that she ended up not taking, but you know she did. The most likely cause is a crossover. I think we all know the drill, the feature of the universe that evades the scientific method, because how would you test and observe this? But it is one that I do believe is true, just by all the accounts. So you're probably in a different universe altogether. On a side note, a show I'd recommend that touches on such crossovers is Counterpart, with J.K. Simmons. Excellent acting. I highly recommend it if you're into science fiction and these kind of crossover thought experiments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and head on to my channel to watch even more stories.